Welcome back to another episode of the Anxious Creative Podcast. I am so excited for today's episode because I've got one of my besties, Rebecca Taylor, on, and we just pressed record and we're goofy off the bat. There is something magical about when Rebecca and I get together, and this is no exception. She just brings out the silly goofy in me, and as you'll hear in the podcast, that's one way people always commend me on my vulnerability because I talk a lot about things that make others vulnerable, but for me, it's extremely vulnerable to be silly and goofy with someone. And I feel safe with someone when I can. And so I'm really excited to dive into this episode, have you see that more silly, goofy side of me, and get to dive into how failure has brought Rebecca to where she is and how failure is part of her journey to her success and why it's been so important. So buckle up, friend, and let's dive in.
Tell me.
You're listening to the Anxious Creative Podcast.
I'm crunching cheese over her intro.
How.
This is hard ass cheese.
Oh, it's cheese. It's not a cracker.
No, it's not just the cheese. It's like just the cheese. That's all. This should be like
This podcast is brought to you by
just the cheese.
me and Rebecca are going to bring you just the cheese.
Naturally, baby. It's what we do. I don't know.
That's how we do.
Man, you bring it out of me, dude.
You bring it out in me. That's why when you're like, should we record this or not? I was like, yes, please. I need it.
You're just gonna have me on every day.
Yeah. Selfishly. Can we have a morning call every day?
No.
I'm just testing your boundaries. They're still good.
Thank you. I thought of you when I said no.
The amount of times that I get DMs being like, I put up a boundary and it made me think of you. And I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
That is a good thing. Look at this guy.
That looks like a sick piece of a pepperoni.
It looks like whenever E.T. got sick and he was found by the lake.
E.T. phone home. What are you doing? This is definitely staying on the podcast. People can watch it on YouTube.
Oh, I hope so.
Well, if people don't know who Rebecca Taylor is,
now you do.
now you know. But yeah. So
Yeah.
Rebecca, here's the thing.
Yeah.
The other day, this lady walked into my office.
And then she said,
what did she say?
that's all I got.
So, welcome to the way Rhea and Rebecca get when we're together.
Mm-hmm.
What's something people would be surprised? People who know you, what would they be surprised to find out about you?
People already know me.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm an open book, so I don't know. That's so hard.
I thought this was going to be an easy one, so I led with an easy question.
People that know me, I feel like we talked about vulnerability just a bit ago in the live that we did, and that like vulnerability comes easy to you, and it's like kind of like,
well, what other people feel vulnerable about sharing is very comfortable for me. So I get commended for my vulnerability when talking about like mental health, emotions, past traumas does not feel vulnerable to me. But being silly and goofy is really vulnerable. So if I'm silly and goofy with you, it means I feel really safe with you.
well, that makes me happy because we're goofy like 85% of the time, which is awesome.
Yeah.
To answer your question, that's hard because like I really feel like what do we not talk about? That's how I am. If I have a friendship, or like for the most people like we know each other, like we go all in. We go all in and I talk about everything, including like my fears and my struggles and shit that happened in the past and my hopes and dreams. I don't know. How would you answer that?
What is something most people, I mean, it's my podcast. God damn it.
Now that I became a podcaster, I'm like, listen, I don't know.
In this table.
I'm gonna know my role. Sorry. Okay.
Right. Know your role. Know your limit, play within it.
Little my beef is now.
Little your beef is, did you just say?
My beef is so much smaller than it was.
I think people would be surprised, to answer the question for you, I think people would be surprised to know how caring you are. Not that that sounded bad, but like the depth to which you care for your people, like, if I can consider myself your people, like, the amount that, like, I felt connected with you, safe with you, and I was like, "I get along with her," and when you're like, "I'm gonna come visit you," and I was like, I was like, "I call bullshit." People say that all the time, they never do, and you were the first person in my world to, like, an online world to come and visit me,
Really?
which I don't know if you understand just, like, how meaningful that was.
Thank you for sharing that with me. I don't know. I feel like I don't know that you told me if I was the first person, like in your peer group or online community.
Feels like our first night together.
That's unfortunate. Do we have any commentary about that beef? No.
What? Um,
I just want to say, I don't want to make like a goof over everything. The fact that you said that and you see that in me and you experience that and you're sharing with that with me now, that means a lot because I receive that and I agree with that.
mhm,
I care deeply for the people that I choose
mhm.
to share my energy with.
You care deeply, but you also, and we talked about this the other day on the phone, because you were apologizing to me about setting a boundary, and I was like, "You don't have to apologize about it. I actually really respect that you communicated clearly." As much as, like, sometimes, like, being on the receiving end of a boundary can be, I'll get embarrassed and being like, "Oh, I feel stupid," right? But then, and, like, that's, like, not just with you, but, like, other people, I'll be like, because I just get self-conscious. But, like, after I, like, get over myself, it's like, no, I'm, like, so glad that you were able to speak your truth, for lack of a better term. I feel like some of these phrases are so, like, overused or, like, whatever. But, like, you delivered well, kindly, clearly, directly, and I have so much respect for people who will stand up for themselves and care for themselves so that they can care for other people, because it's so easy to be a people pleaser and to overextend at the sacrifice of yourself, and you don't.
Now I don't. As of a few years ago, I still did. Like, I feel like I really came into my own and worked on so much shit and worked on so many like unhealthy behaviors and toxic traits only in the course of like the last 3.5 years. Like, I was a hardcore people pleaser to the point of like no autonomy over the way I don't I just it was bad. It was bad and it was in my business and it was in with relationships and it was I did not
Mhm.
speak my truth. I did not no, it was really bad. And so that's all pretty new to me. So thanks for recognizing that too, but it's been a lot of freaking hard work. I don't know. Like I feel like I just am open to talk about anything. So I don't know. That's interesting and good and it's not bad. It's not bad that you were like, you know what surprises me is that you're actually caring. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like that sound I have, like, this amazing talent of having good intentions, and when things come out of my mouth, they sound like, not at all what I intended them to be like. I think because, like, I mean, maybe from the Rebecca that I knew, like, back in the day, like, I didn't personally know, but I just saw online, was, like, very goofy, which I love, but, like, and, like, I've obviously seen the depth of who you are and the seriousness of who you are as well, and I love that, like, kind of my word of the year is, like, like, I can be a paradox. I'm allowed to be both.
Mhm.
And you have been a huge inspiration for me in that, and, like, you don't have to be one or the other. You can be all of it.
Thank you. Thank you. And
Yeah.
I love paradoxes too. I love contrasts. I feel like I don't know how or why I was goofy back in the day other than it maybe was a front. You know, I definitely was always just like silly and goofy or whatever.
Mhm.
I don't think I fully embraced like the deep parts and the therapy, you know, like needing therapy and I don't know, like I'm way more layered now than I used to be. I'm happy that the goofy continued on, but now
Mhm.
this other level. Because like now it feels really pure. I feel like my goof is just like it's not a front. It's not like, you know how they say like you laugh so you don't cry. Like that was it back in the day. I was a class clown. I started a class clown because I was like ruthlessly bullied because I was incredibly overweight with like gap teeth and I mean ruthlessly. So before I went to being like aggressive and like I even bullied back. I was just like a really hurt kid. But before that, I tried the class clown route. And I tried, but that still didn't like it wasn't enough. Like I was to a lot of things. That class clowning wouldn't help, but that was my first, like, that was probably like the role I first like took on instead of like my authentic self was being goofy. But turns out now it's not a defense mechanism. It's just a part of who I am and it feels really good. But like now it's for healthy reasons that I'm silly and I play.
Yeah, I love that. And now you have a purpose and play or play and purpose retreat.
I do. We just got done talking about this on my live. I talked about it a little bit. Is when you were off trying to check on your Wi-Fi, you might have missed it. Um, I said on our live too, like if I had $1 for every time we said retreats, here we go again. We're gonna sit or talk about more retreats. So mine is it's called Play with Purpose. And what I felt like if I'm gonna plan something, if I'm gonna create a space for my peers and fellow creatives and just like-minded individuals, it has to be really true to who I am, just like at my core. I'm not gonna just in really any realm, any space right now, I'm not going to be somebody other than who I just am and what comes easy
Mhm.
and good and feels really pure and just brings me joy. So, like, that's the play portion of this retreat. It's in Thailand, in Koh Samui, Thailand. It's February 1st through the 8th of 2025. It's sold out. I'm like, boo. But the play part is just I want to share with people my experience that I have, especially in Southeast Asia. Like, we're going to go zip lining, we're going to go to elephant sanctuaries, we're going to rent scooters and ride through the jungle to waterfalls and like bathe in the waterfalls at dawn. We're going to do all kinds of different like modalities that just brings out the goofy side of people, like the playful side doesn't always have to be so serious. You're in a safe space with other people that want to do the same thing, that want to cut loose a little bit. And this is cutting loose in a very wholesome way. This isn't getting fucked up and like that's why I've tapped so much into, this inner child part of myself is like to have fun. I'm using air quotes to have fun back in the day, to really truly let loose. Like I had to be like inebriated in some way. Like I could never karaoke without drinking. I couldn't do a lot of things in the evening without drinking. Anything like boating or water sports or just anything to do with water or summertime, a drink in hand. It's very societal, like fun
Mhm.
and alcohol is synonymous. So when I got sober, it was hard at first. But then I was like, wow, there is such pure, just innate joy in doing these things that like are fun, but just being fully in your body and like fully unadulterated joy. And like that's what I want to do now. And it's not like a non-drinking retreat. You can go off and do whatever the hell you want to do. That's what I love about retreats. It's your experience. So if other people want to drink in the evening, like they can't do it at the retreat because it's very yoga centric or whatever. But if you want to go off and do your own thing, go off and do your own thing. But for me, I've experienced so much, just like such a release in my 40s doing all these fun things without having to get outside myself. It just feels so good and so pure.
I really called it like the no fuck 40s. And I think there is something to be said about age, but I also think like when you've been through shit, right? Because I don't know if everybody has it. And so that leads me to my next question is what has been your biggest failure or mess up that you can look back on? And how has it affected your life in a positive way?
Hmm. I think there've been all kinds of like big and little failures along the way. I mean, all kinds of gnarly stuff, but just the most recent one that affected me probably the deepest, that I had to like do the most work around. I was like I was so stuck. I didn't see a way forward. And I sent you the caption to this post that had to do with some of our conversation and whatever, but I started talking about my own story, but it was like a series of pretty massive failures, and why I feel like it was so shitty and felt like such just like a gut punch is that I was seeing a certain amount of success for quite some time. It was like my baseline of success just didn't exist. I was super poor. I was in an unhappy marriage. It was just bad by bad. Then I got my hair license. Then I like started grinding, like day, night, just lived, breathed, ate it, slept it, whatever. It was very unhealthy, a very unhealthy addiction to work. So it was like success, 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 both with like building my platform online and traveling all over the world and making crazy money. And like I was hood rich and I was like, whoa, success, success. So I'm climbing, climbing, climbing. Didn't really have a setback until and in around the time of the pandemic. I just opened a salon in West Hollywood. I put in probably $250,000 of my own money, no investors, no credit, just my savings. And then we opened the latter part of 2019. Then COVID, we all know what happened there. We were closed 7 months of 2020. My addiction to Xanax started going off the rails. That was, I felt like pretty public. I had to go to treatment. So my personal life was in shambles. My financial life was in shambles. Shortly after getting out of treatment, I ended a contract with a brand I was with for 6 years. I didn't show up on social media, started losing followers. It was in the tune of 70,000, 70,000. So it was just like a series of very profound failures. I mean, those are all massive. Any one individual, one of those, could take someone out. I experienced them all at once. I was like, I'm rocked to my core, my foundation. And then yeah, so if you want to talk about like what I did with all that, that's probably probably for a whole different episode. No, that's no, we'll talk about it now, but that is the worst series of failures I experienced in my life and career all at once.
How did you feel in the thick of it?
I felt at times very hopeless. I felt like I was gonna just say screw it all, and I felt like I was gonna sabotage what little I felt like little standing that I still had left in my career or my platform, my reputation. I was just like, I seriously contemplated, like taking the rest of my savings and getting an RV or just living off the grid and just saying, I swear to you, I'm not even
Same.
kidding.
That's where I'm at right now. I'm like, "What? Why do I even do this?" It's like not needing the external validation that I craved because I had such little self-worth is like, I realized how much of my motivation came from people, like, praising me, and now that I don't need that praise, it's like, why do I still wanna help people, but I'm struggling to find the motivation.
Mm. I That's another huge piece to it too. When you're seeing success, that comes with accolades and like adoration and pats on the back and all this external stuff. And it's good to hear. And you're usually hearing it because you're making a difference. But if that's your only source of just like, I'm great, this is wonderful, life is good, people love me,
Mhm.
gets taken away or it goes away or it wanes, then you're like, fuck, what else? Like, what else do I have going on? And I experienced that big time. So then I at the time had a lot of support in a program that I worked for my sobriety. So there was a lot of like minded people where back in the day, what I would do if things got really, really difficult is like, I'd want to anesthetize. I'm like, this feels terrible. Let me take a Xanax or like I can't deal with this anxiety of sitting tight and getting through it and being patient. Like that's what I would do back in the day. So because I had all these people that are very supportive to me to basically, I mean, the support groups to keep you sober. So I shared this stuff with people and it's a gnarly group. They've been through a lot of shit. You know, they're survivors, they're in recovery. So they're like, ah, shut up, whatever. You'll get another brand deal. You know, like it was a lot of tough love from like what's called old timers. So I had a lot, you think that's a big deal? Yeah, back in my day, you know, so it was a lot of like gaining support or receiving support from people that have been through. My shit was not like it's a comparison, but my shit was petty in the grand scheme of things. Like I try to talk about social media and losing followers. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, listen, I lost my leg. And I was like, whoa, you're right. That's the perspective. And but the point is I just like I leaned into all these sources of support and hardcore into my own my inner strength that I know you have and I know I have and I know a lot of people have. And it's just like the biggest thing I learned throughout that whole process is just patience. And this is in hindsight, I'm through the end. I'm through the worst of it, I would say. I'm day by day. I keep coming out of it more like resilient feeling and like less in fear of something bad happening again because it already happened and I already got through it. But like that whole experience taught me resilience like I had never known before. And before, I'm a survivor of all kinds of assault, like sexual, physical, mental, emotional. I've been homeless, I've been poor as shit, like all these different things. And still, I wasn't resilient because I feel like I hadn't truly worked on my self worth. Because then it was like, okay, all these bad things happen. Here's my career. This is my tiny baby I'm hanging on to forever, forever. And then that gets taken away from you. And then you're like, oh shit. So that was, I feel like, the last piece of the puzzle where I'm like, I've lost it all at this point. I've lost it
Who
all.
am I?
Well, now I know, because I had to experience it. I was left without the career that I knew, the money that I knew, the validation that I knew. And so I was like, we're good, dude. We've been through so much. This is me talking to me. That's how I talk to myself. Listen, dude, you got to keep going, and you got to. And now I'm realizing I'm like in just this like just place of gratitude. Nothing is promised. I don't take anything for granted. And like I'm a big like believer now in timing and like different signs. And if that shit didn't work out, it's not the end of the world. Like
Mhm.
else meant for me. And it's wild. Like I'm so grateful now to have gone through all that shit. I really, really am. So I would say to you, just sit tight and have faith, and then lean on the support of people that feel safe to you and that you can like not just vent to, because commemorate, what is that word? Commiseration. Um, is a
Misery loves company.
Yeah, not that kind of support. Somebody that's like that can listen, yeah, that's safe, but that can
Mhm.
offer you something. Like, doesn't
Yeah.
have solutions necessarily. It's just like, all right, get your head out of your ass today. You gotta do this. I will tell you when we can I what can I say on here? Like about our conversation or whatever.
I mean, like the one where you put up boundaries?
No, can I just say the words contrary action and then you can take it from there?
Sure, I don't know what you're referring to.
You forgot about our conversation?
Oh, when you feel stuck yes, yes, absolutely, you can share that, yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
thought you were talking about when the car conversation.
Oh, girl,
And I
listen,
was like, "No, Rebecca, you can't say that
I
on
know
my
better.
podcast."
One thing people don't know about me is I don't know when to shut up. That's the thing. That's the answer to your question. No, I would never. I'm just talking about our recent conversation.
Yeah. Now everyone's like, "What was it?" And
You'll
they'll never know.
never. Where's my beef stick? I ate it already. Anyway, um, this is fun.
Oh my god. I love that you have your mic, which is your water bottle right now.
Listen. Oh wait, hold
Is this
on.
thing on?
It doesn't have a cord attached to it. Listen here, I'm official.
Okay, so you phoned I can't remember. We, like, texted back and forth. We, like, took a day or 2 to reply to each other because that's how we roll, which I love that we can be like that. And then you're like, "Can I call are you free this afternoon?" And I said, "I'm free right now," which, like, spontaneous I actually get quite stressed out by planning too much of my
And
life.
waiting for the phone call, you have this conversation, like, later in the day, it's like, ugh, I don't
I
know.
think it's because it's like, how am I gonna feel? And, like, I can feel so many different ways in such a short period of time, and then, like, the pressure of, like, "Oh, now I gotta be on." So I, like, love spontaneous phone calls. Anyway, and I was sharing with you how I have vision, and I know what I wanna do, and I know what I do helps people, but, like, I just can't get moving. Like, I've tried to get momentum, and I've gotten momentum, but there's, like, something that I'm just feeling really stuck. And so, enter you into the conversation.
And we talked about that, and I shared some of my experience that I just shared with your listeners about, like, oh, hell, I right after coming off with all that failure, I was so stuck because I'm like, do I want to I hadn't fully processed it. The way I processed my shit was
Mhm.
reaping the life and career I knew. So I had to do that. But like in the midst of all that shit of I was paralyzed. I was just like, I cannot put myself back out there. And that I don't even know how to put myself back out there. Like I don't know like what I should do. I'm all these like horrible things I was thinking and telling myself like I'm irrelevant, I'm too old. Your ship has sailed. That was a big thing I kept thinking over and over and over. I'm like, your ship sailed. You had your moment in the sun, like whatever. I just felt pretty defeated. And then it was gnarly, but I don't remember what we were talking about, but just like, what were we talking about?
Taking messy, immediate, imperfect action.
That's what we were talking about. That's right. And then I said, what is the opposite of like what you want to do? Like you wanted to, and I wanted to do nothing. I wanted to analyze the fuck out of it, but I was paralyzed. And I'm like, I've overthought it to the point of it doesn't make any sense to me anymore. Analysis paralysis. And then you don't do anything because it's just like, this idea isn't good enough. This idea isn't good enough. And then you have these squawking ass, negative self-talk voices in the
Yeah.
background. You're
Yeah.
too old. You already had your moment. You can see this bastard right here. And then I just really did a bunch of like inner work. And like I said, I had to grieve what I knew before. And I don't think I could have moved past the stuckness if I didn't really grieve it. Like I had to grieve the loss of my business. I had to really process the shame of the feeling of it was very public. It was very public.
Mhm.
And then I was just like, I am so in shame of like being what I thought to be like an authority, or I achieved success. It just is factual. I just was very successful in my industry. And then I just thought everybody's going to just think that I'm just like this played out person that had a personal crisis, that it's over for you. That's curtains. It's a wrap. That's really what I thought. So I had to work through that shame, the grief of my former career. Once I did all that, things started happening in a good way. Like opportunities
Mhm.
started presenting themselves. I started making opportunities for myself. I didn't feel so paralyzed. Like I did want to show up online. I was like, it's like I forgot how to use social media after that hiatus. I was like, ugh, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what my messaging was. I don't know who I was talking to. I didn't know who I was. But then as I started doing it more and more again, I'm like, wow, this feels better than it ever did. It feels better than it ever did. And then just things continue to be momentous in a really positive way.
So, has your definition of success changed, and what did it change to?
One hundo. It's so funny that we're having this conversation right now. And something just happened when I went to go grab my beef stick. Literally, in the amount of time it
This
took for
podcast is brought to you by beef sticks.
sticks and real cheese. So like I ran to get a snack. I looked down there and there was like a box on the table. I was shipped something and I'm like, I'm gonna open it. I'll get to Dawn when I get to her. So I listen, I was quick, but
I
I
feel so special.
well, you are special. Good. I'm glad you feel that way.
I don't need your external validation anymore, so good.
I know you don't. So I opened it real quick and it was a coffee mug, a Starbucks gift card, and a little maple syrup from my Canadian friends. Oligo had sent me a card as a
Not this
handwritten.
one, not this Canadian friend.
Yeah. You're like, I didn't send you shit. You get your own syrup. Um, it was a small gesture, but the handwritten portion said, thank you so much for being uniquely you and creative and working on projects together. And along the lines of that, they're the two marketing people that I work with most, like creating content and events and whatever. Two amazing women. They took the time to write me that card with a coffee mug and a whatever. Now, the shit that I used to get back in the day, from like Redken and stuff, they'd send like fancy ass YSL wallets and Gucci this and blah 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 that. Like that used to be important to me back in the days, like labels and
Mhm.
things like that. I'm like, oh well, if they're taking the time to send me here or there, like I must be special. And look at all this. This is cool, and definitely like fed my ego. I would rather it is not about money and it's certainly not about labels and shit like that anymore. It's about meaningful connections and the way that I feel. Like I have to feel in alignment, has to
Mhm.
be really, really good, has to feed my soul. And I admittedly don't make as much as I used to. Like it was on a in a a good year, it could be like 400,000. That's what it was in its heyday, and that's just brand deals and stuff. And but looking back, I was like not happy. I wasn't happy because it was all external stuff, and I've had to adjust my life a little bit and we moved out of West Hollywood, which was such a good thing. I was very mentally unwell, like living on Santa Monica Boulevard, and it was just noise and chaos and ugh. So we live in a different area, like a mountain town, not the big city. So
Mm.
like we have a home versus an apartment. The rent is actually cheaper. So we changed a lot of our like our lifestyle, I'd say. But I'm not wanting for anything. I'm definitely like in an abundant place, but my success now is aligned partnerships with people and like business situations. Success to me feels like a ton of time to take care of myself and be out in nature. um, and success also is really meaningful relationships with friends and the ability to spend time with them and adventures and things like that. It's very little is to do with superficial shit now.
Mm. I love that. I love that because I feel like my definition of success has changed over the years, and I feel like I'm again like metamorphosing again into like a new place because like success for me was always a dollar amount
Mhm.
and was people like telling me how successful I was. And now I'm in a state of redefining it and I don't know what that is yet, but it's a really cool place to never before have I been aware enough of what I'm going through to be like, oh, I'm in the messy middle.
Mhm.
And it's always been like panic or whatever, where I'm like, I've always gotten through these times and I've always been better because of it. So I'm just gonna enjoy this, like, I don't know. I don't know where it's all gonna go.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said like you're gonna enjoy it. Like it might be uncertain and it might be unsettling at times, but like I don't think we have to put ourselves through such misery when it's like an up in the air thing. It could be more reframed as like exciting and anything's possible, and you are changing and you have the ability to change and evolve and do different things. And like, I feel like most of the time, we have so much to be grateful for. I mean, sure, bad shit happens. I'm not like, this isn't toxic positivity, but gratitude is a state of mind and a state of
Yeah.
being. And I that's another big thing. I am so heavily invested in ways to be grateful and just like when things seem shitty or if like I'll give you an example. Jay Ladner and I did a tour and we picked 6 cities and like you never know what you're gonna expect when you just never know when you put it out there and it's just like, I wonder if everybody's gonna book. I wonder if they're gonna sell out. I wonder if they're not. The very first one we're doing is May 6th, and that class didn't sell too well. I mean, and we've got it eventually started, but I was so like, I decided to be so unattached to the outcome of that, and just it be about the experience with Jay and like getting to meet people. And back in the day, is if something didn't sell out and it didn't do well, then that was a direct reflection on people thinking I was great or good or
Mhm,
I
mhm.
shitty. And I'm like, you know what? It could be the economy. I don't care what it is. I just really don't. I'm grateful to have the experience and have the freedom to still do this without it being sold out and just to do this with my friend. I don't know. I am trying to find as much gratitude even in seemingly shitty situations or stuff I would have found to be a shitty situation back in the day. I'm like, there's always you can look at it to where there's always a silver lining. Yeah.
Absolutely, like, I even think if we go personal, like, I was married I mean, we both were married and divorced again, when we were younger, and then most recently, like, I had, like, a 10-year relationship, and, like, I mean, that's kind of where I'm, like, not quite, at the place where I'm, like, the person I've become because of it, because it's, like, there's still some, like,
Mhm.
stuff there, but, like, I know that, like, every bad thing that's ever happened, I've chosen to use it to become a better version of myself, and I can never regret anything despite wishing I hadn't gone through it, because I wouldn't be who I am without it. And even, like, I remember frying someone's hair off once, the day that I had also been invited to go down and have a photo shoot with Cosmoprof, and that became the first Cosmoprof artistic team, and I found that out later, and I was like, "Why didn't I, like, cancel that client?" And then the one client I couldn't cancel, like, her hair fried off, and I was like, is the universe just, like, punishing me because I thought I was, like, doing the honorable thing by putting my client first, and then I get shit on, but now it's like, I would've been really focused probably heavily on technique, which is fine, but I, like, love what I can help people with now, and, like, I think that's where every time I shift and change and morph and go from being a caterpillar to a butterfly or whatever, like I inadvertently, like that's how my career shifts as well,
Mm,
because my new level of understanding about myself is just like that's how I operate. Does that make sense? I feel
it
like I kind of had an out of body experience there where I don't know what anything came out of my mouth.
No, you might have blacked out, but it all made sense to me. I will say this, and you can tell me if you agree. I feel like these things that have happened to you before, like pretty monumental things, you completely annihilate someone's hair, and the same time you know potentially would have had an opportunity to do something like totally different. That could have been a career ending, you know, situation. Some people are like, I feel like myself included, these really hard things that we've gone through, we're built for it. There's certain people that like I'm built for certain
Hmm.
shit. Yes.
Sorry, I put one of my students did this recently where she put her finger up. She's like, so I don't forget. And I was like, that's really smart.
It's
I don't
very
want
distracting is what it is.
to. Well, I didn't want to interrupt you, but clearly it did.
Oh, you also like, and I was like,
I went like this. I did not go like this. And I'm going to forget what I was going to say now. Um,
okay, when I said, let's reenact it. We're built for this. Don't you think you're just built for this? You got it.
me. Do you ever, because I've been experiencing this lately, and this is why I know I'm in the messy middle, is are you ever resentful for the fact that you're built for it? Like, how come, why the fuck do I have to go through shit to help other, and this is gonna sound worse than what I mean, because it is an honor and a privilege to help other people, and I really truly believe that is my purpose on this earth. But when I'm in the season of the struggle, I struggle with being like, why do I have to be the one to carry this weight so that others can have it easier? And I want to be able to make it easier for people. And I am honored to, but it gets frustrating. And I do get resentful for being like, what did I do in a past life to deserve to have to carry this shit? If I'm
That's
being
my
real
answer.
honest.
You are, and you don't. The thing is, you keep saying have to. Why do I? You don't. You could go be a goat farmer. You can go dig a ditch. You choose to.
Dig a ditch.
Want to do, man, you can do it to where you're not empowering people. You're just being like, you could go do manual labor where you don't do any of this. You choose to.
Yeah.
Choose to. Like I choose to. I choose to
Fuck you, Rebecca.
dude, it is what it is. We keep going through this stuff because we're driven. It's probably in our human design somewhere that we are driven and we are built for it. This is why I said again that we're built for it. I'm not saying that we don't get tired. I'm not saying that it doesn't get heavy. I'm not saying that first of all, I feel like on a lot of levels, we're creatives. Even if you don't do hair again anymore, even if that's where my, you know, direction goes, we are creatives and we're business people, and it is painful sometimes. We're birthing ideas into the world and like waiting to see if they stick or not with people, and then this is how we make our money. So it can be incredibly painful, but if we weren't built for it, we wouldn't keep coming back because we don't have to. Newsflash, we don't have to do this shit. We can go do a million other things that don't involve being creative or putting ourselves out there. I know. I know. Listen, it's just a tall drink of water for you to sip on.
I'll drink water. I had this like moment like the other day or the day where I always would tell people like people would be like, how do you like do business or how are you so successful? And I'd be like, listen, business comes easy. Relationships have had a lot of failures. And I feel like I think maybe I had mentality where like if business is going good, my relationships are shit. And
Mm.
now that I'm making a shift into having, and I'm not just talking romantic relationships, but like friendship, I've always struggled with female friendships. I've struggled to put up my own boundaries with like friends and family. But like now, as I'm like becoming better with my relationships, I'm like, oh, do I think that if things are going good in my relationships, then business has to be shit? And like that whole like, it can't be both. And it was
Sure.
like, interesting.
It is interesting that you said that because like when I was waiting for this is a bunch of serendipitous shit that you're mentioning right now and that it just happened. Um First of all, I feel like that's probably your subconscious because of stuff that's happened in the past that's just like, you know, it's a self-fulfilling, self-sabotaging prophecy.
Mhm.
But I was sitting outside waiting for my phone to charge And I was thinking, like, I was just looking. I'm sitting back in my yard. There's a pool. I'm like, I have a fucking pool, first of all. Like, it blows my mind. I went from living behind a hardware store when I was 6 with my mom to like having a pool. So I'm grateful all the time about stuff like that. But I was like, I was thinking, when people say the phrase like too good to be true, and I'm like, why is there a too good? Like, good is just a nice status quo. It's a comfort, right? And if you have there is no too much. There is no too good to be true. We all set ourselves up for like, we don't deserve all these good things. We don't deserve to be healthy, happy, good relationships, great business. I don't know what wires were crossed along the way that we don't believe that all this good shit and abundance is our birthright, but it happens. It's society, it's familial, like archetypes, it's all this shit that happens. And then we always think, I was thinking outside. I was like, in the past, and sometimes still, I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm like, well, things are going real good for a while. How in the hell is this gonna like get fucked up soon? Like, I have to prepare myself. Um,
Mhm.
but then, when you think about it, sometimes the shit that happens is subconsciously being manufactured by that darker side of us that like makes ourselves screw it up. And I'm like, if we just go back to just the baseline of like, we do deserve good things. Why don't we? Why can't we be just so freaking over the moon about all good things? And while I'm on this soapbox, I was thinking the other day, I was starting to butt up against some limiting like blocks and like beliefs. I'm like, I feel guilty for showing up in this place of just real, just joy. Like this, like being joyful and happy and like in gratitude and things going well. And I felt guilty about it because those are my like people pleasing, empathetic, like it's gonna make other people feel bad that I'm doing so well in my life.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
wanted to like dim my shit a little bit and it felt braggy, but it's not braggy. I am this is life right now and I'm very grateful and like I said, it's not buku money. It's not all this crazy shit. It's just I feel fucking good.
But, like, what is more successful than being happy?
I don't know. And like that's me doing that same shit. That's me being like, I have to share this part of myself because I'm gonna make somebody else feel bad. And you know where that comes from? That comes from years thinking I was a burden. From early childhood, from like not knowing my father, my mom like being honestly kind of resentful that she had a young kid and couldn't do her own thing. Like that deep seated shit, feeling like I'm a burden that in my 40s that I'm still processing that still comes up. But, least, and I know you're self aware too, at least I'm self aware enough and have enough like emotional literacy at this point because I've done so much work. I could be like, oh, that's where that's coming from. And no, I don't have to give in to those like patterns and those like just ways that I have shown up in the past. Like I can be happy. I can be like just all plates can be spinning at once in a way that feels really good, all the things, and that's okay. Not only can I like be happy with those things, I can share about those things as well because my reality.
Mhm. I love that because I even had, like, a situation recently where it's like, when someone considers me and how things affect me and, like, adjusts their behavior or their actions from it, I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, you value me enough to, like, actually make decisions based on what I share with you? Like, that blows my mind, and that comes from, like, "Oh, wow, I still," like, I thought I've done a lot of work on my self-worth, but there's still some more work to go because I know I'm what I'm worthy of, and I've learned how to stand up for what I'm worthy of, but to see someone else adjust their sails because of the worth they see in being in connection with me is like, "Oh, I've never experienced someone else changing a behavior or an action to stay in connection." And I'm like, whoa, like it's one thing for me to stand up for me, but like a whole nother thing of like a worthiness issue around someone else. And I'm like, that is mind boggling.
It's so layered. There's so much. And I feel like we're going to be doing this work forever.
Mhm.
Um, at least until we're like 85 or like, I just want to go be like a scallywag and not do anything.
I love you so much.
I love
I'll
you.
scallywag. Okay. That got real heavy, but that was good. I love that. I love that we can laugh till we pee our pants and then we can get serious and cry and be deep together. That's like I have very few people I can be that way with, and I'm so honored that I can be that way with you.
Likewise. And you know what? That didn't feel heavy to me because I feel like sharing that around the certain type of people, it doesn't, I don't know, it didn't feel heavy to me. It just felt very like cleansing and like you get what I'm saying and I get what you're saying and we're
Being
both
understood.
big time. Big
Yeah.
time. And I think I had a couple of revelations. I mean, for one, I don't know that I would ever shared that whole too good to be true other foot dropping thing with anybody.
Yeah.
Um, it was just something that was, I mean, I was like deep in it. I was just thinking like, yeah. And so being able to like talk through that with you and process it and be like, wow, okay, that's neat. It's just, yeah, it didn't feel heavy. So thanks for letting me go there.
Of course. So, like question,
Sure.
if you could not be a hairstylist or in the beauty industry,
A goat farmer.
cool.
No.
Done.
Okay. It's so funny that I said to you earlier, you're like, you don't have to do this. You can go be a goat farmer. There's a reason why. There's a reason why. I don't know. Let me give that a little bit more thought. I love goats. Okay, I need some I need to ask some more
No,
preliminary.
if any goats are listening, do not be offended.
I love them, I said.
I know, but just in case you change your mind, you don't want to be a goat farmer.
Oh yeah. They don't
I love them, I said.
like, did you hear
Listen, Linda.
words coming out of my mouth? I said I like them. Oh, let me give it. Okay, I need to ask more questions. Is this like do I need like like something to sustain me financially, or am I independently wealthy just out here in the
You're
world?
overthinking it.
No, I'm not. It
You
has a
gave an
lot.
answer. It was goat farmer. Final answer.
I want to do a couple different things.
Okay, what else?
A floral arranger.
A florist?
Yeah, that. And then also
A floral arranger.
a digital nomad.
Oh, a digital nomad.
I'm just gonna be that anyway. I'm
You
gonna do
kind of are.
well.
You're just choosing to stay in one place
For for now, but,
for
like,
now.
yeah, we're retiring in Thailand, so basically, I'm gonna be doing it there.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I love it. Did you see what, fucking Tabitha sent? Like, our voices were all deep whenever
Deep.
yeah, I was like, "Oh, I'm chasing the dragon, healing, healing, healing," and it was just really hold on. Talk amongst yourself.
Okay, so but I do wanna ask you another question.
Okay.
How do you make yourself uncomfortable for the sake of growth?
That which is going to lead me why I hosted my own retreat and the type of retreat was that it was healing, healing, healing. That was my first experience. Why did you show up talking like that on Instagram?
For anyone that's listening and doesn't know what we're referring to, that was an Instagram live, and that was Rebecca's voice and how it was coming through.
Yeah, because I use
Yikes.
your Wi-Fi.
I mean, it sounds the same as how you always sound.
Healing, healing, healing.
Healing,
Trauma processing.
healing. When you heal, your voice drops an octave.
True.
Really
Okay.
getting into your feminine.
Man, you know what? I am so heavily invested in being my masculine self. Like that's my energy. I don't know about what you think about me, but like, do you see that I'm very tapped into my masculine energy? I mean, I got a San Jose Sharks thing on with like camo pants, and I'm talking like this.
I
This
don't
is
know. I feel like I'm similar to you because we're kind of like girly tomboys.
yeah, okay, yeah, because my head looks a little like girly or whatever, but like
Mhm.
energetically, like I don't know. I tap into both. But what was your question?
How do you make yourself uncomfortable for the sake of growth?
Mm, what I've learned now is just that I this is what I got derailed talking about it before. Contrary action. Literally do the complete opposite of what my nervous system tells me to do in times of fear. Literally the
Mhm.
opposite. That and I also find esteemable acts are really helpful.
What's an esteemable act?
Like how should I? Things that you can do for other people that make you feel good about yourself.
Mm.
Like being of service in a way that has nothing to do with money or reciprocation or anything. When I do esteemable acts, I'll give you an example. I just this older lady, this friend that I talk to regularly, she was one of those ladies in the program. I'm not in any sort of like recovery program anymore, but when I was like I'll just tell you, like, she was my sponsee, so we talk together all the time, but because you're not doing it anymore, it's just unethical to, like, keep doing, like, sponsorship things. So we talked for a while, and then, like, I just will reach out to her and just randomly check to see how she's doing. Like, it makes me feel really good to, like, check in with people that I care about because 'cause I'm thinking about them. So esteemable acts while I'm going through something difficult, um, it just is some weird soul boost that I experience. I'm like, "Oh, well, you know, times are hard. I'm trying to do," because it's painful. You do the complete opposite to what your nervous system says. Put yourself out there, do something that, like, potentially could fail. Like, it's just
Mhm.
it can be gnarly. So then, like, the supplemental stuff I do also is just, like, be nice to people, do good things. It makes you feel good. It softens the blow for
Mhm.
all these, like, gnarly things you gotta push yourself to do. I'm like,
Well, it's funny because I'm so used to being taken advantage of and used even in friendships that when you first started being nice to me, I'm like, what does she want?
"I'm just doing
Nothing.
a noble act so I can be successful." I'm just kidding.
You're like, it was completely selfish.
No, man, it's also the law of karma. Like, it's the golden rule. It's all these things that have a
Mm.
million different phrases. Like, that makes you feel good about yourself. Like, I'm not doing this shit. And that's another thing. I think I probably learned this kind of stuff in the program. It's being of service keeps you healthy, keep
Mhm.
mentally, physically, spiritually healthy. I want nothing in return. This keeps me right. Like,
Yeah.
being kind to people and, like, that keeps me like good on a soul level. I That's really what helps me. It makes me feel like I'm a good person. Like, I know I'm a good person, but it's just a reminder like, "Hey, you're a good fucking person." And then so it makes it easier to do these things that are hard sometimes when we get in our own way.
So in 5 words or less, who is Rebecca Taylor?
Does it all have to be strung together like a phrase or just 5 random ones?
Whatever you want. No rules.
Hmm. Hmm. Playful, spiritual, hilarious, caring, creative.
I love that.
How was that?
That was beautiful.
Oh, thanks. Now you gotta do you now.
No.
Yeah, come on. I know it's your podcast, but I feel like you need
Okay.
to.
Silly, transparent, authentic, honest. Is that the same as authentic?
I mean, it's what you feel right now. Hey, I have arthritis. Okay,
Arthritis hurt.
you got one left.
Flip me the bird. So I
Just say
said silly, integral or integrity, honest, authentic,
2 more.
deep.
Deep, and then 1 more.
Oh, there's one more?
Yeah. You're like, "That's 17."
You're just like, and one more. And one more. Um, safe,
Mhm.
like for others. That's
Yeah.
like a really it's funny, like my therapist was like, "Do you think there's a correlation between you never feeling like you had a safe space your entire life to be completely your raw, real, vulnerable self, that the reason why you built your business was to be a safe space for other people?" And I was like, "Don't make so much sense."
Well, you got a good ass therapist because some of the things that you've told me that y'all talked about, I'm like, "Yeah, they're good."
Yeah, she's kick-ass. She's so
Mhm.
kick-ass. Um, so this is a pretty big question, and I don't want you to stress too much about it.
Right.
But if you had to pick, would you pick chicken nuggets or nachos?
Nachos. Sorry.
Why are you
More
apologizing?
More chicken nuggets for you because I thought you're gonna die on this fucking chicken nugget hill, and you'd be like, "Listen, chicken nuggets are the best." That's because that's what you do.
That's
Chicken
what I do.
nuggets are the best. Ah!
Mm. Chicken nuggets are good, but I mean, you could have asked me the question and you might have been surprised by my answer. But
What
no, you assumed. And you know what happens when you assume?
Listen, I only assumed you make an ass out of you. The only reason I assumed is because during our live, you literally brought out like 16 pieces of chicken nugget memorabilia. Whatever.
2 pieces that were gifts.
You said you got a whole wall that we couldn't see.
I
I
said,
mean,
send me all of it because I have a shelf.
that's exactly what I said.
It feels like you're being a little defensive. Would that be accurate? Is
I'm not
that the best thing to say to somebody when they're being defensive? Just being like, "Are you being a little defensive right now? Tell me what's coming up for you."
nachos.
I'm gonna eat those nachos and puke them up on you.
I like nachos because there's variety on them.
Mhm. I
That's
pref
sort of like the simplest thing I've ever eat in my life.
I would pick nachos too, but if I'm real sad, I would eat chicken nuggets.
That's funny. I
Yeah.
mean, not that you're
I'm so glad that you find my sadness funny.
you know what I mean. I
Listen.
mean that that's funny. I'm sorry, that's just I just picture you just, like, in your cozies, just, like,
Mhm.
a big old pile of chicken nuggets, just crying into them. Yeah. Aw, is that what happened today? You
No,
okay,
this
good.
is just what I wear every day.
I love it.
I
Can I make a suggestion? Because this is for me what I did. I listen, when you have bangs like this, you're always fiddling with them. Um, I never see you dressed up except
except for when?
when you're at a hair show and you're wearing your like s- sassy Dawn pants or whatever and your little jackets or whatever. I feel like just at home for shits and gigs, you should just dress fancy, do your makeup, get your lashifies on.
I
Speak
have them on, so don't even say that.
you
Are you
put the
saying I look like shit right now? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm saying all I ever see you in is sweats at home. Just for no good reason on a Thursday, you should just get dolled up to the nines and dopamine dress and try that on for size, literally and figuratively.
So,
It's,
first of all,
it's just a suggestion. Is somebody being defensive?
I don't know what I did to offend you.
Listen, I'll tell you, you did a lot. That's what.
Um, first of all, you don't see me every day.
Touche.
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 But I do probably get dressed once a week and then every other day wear leggings or sweatpants. It's tough when you sit in a chair and it's so uncomfortable to put like hard pants on, you know?
Pants.
Yeah.
I get it.
What are you wearing on the bottoms?
I'm not in one of those days, but I did throw on some thick.
Listen, I put makeup on this morning. I don't know where it went.
You wallet around onto your chicken nuggets.
Do you want to ask me what I did today?
What'd you do today?
I came to my office.
Okay, you cleaned it?
No, I came into my office and I was like, because what we talked about on the phone, it's like, I'm just going to, step one, just show up in my office.
And look at
That's
you
what
today.
I did. Yeah.
You're doing IG lives and podcasts and you put your Lashifies on. I feel like today's a win.
They've been on for about a week, but yeah.
Wow, that was cool.
I feel like this podcast is dying slowly.
I I I echo that.
Okay. It's ending the way it started. Where can people connect with you? How can people get in touch with you? How can people have more Rebecca in their life?
Oh, I made it easy. Like back in the day, and I was talking about this on my live. Like you really, really empowered me to like apply myself to learn techie things. Like
Hmm.
my self-talk was that stay in your lane, hairstylist. You're a creative and you're not technical and seeing you do it is really, really cool. And when I came and hung out with you, like we were talking about later and scheduling apps and this and that. And after that point, that for me was a jumping off point to feel very empowered that anything I put my mind to, I can learn and do and get better at. So I say all that to say I have a really cool link in bio deal, and the link is just it's a fancier link tree. Like I created a landing page all by myself, and so that link, well, I'm gonna call it a link tree. All those links in my bio, you can connect to me via one-on-one coaching. through my website. This upcoming retreat is sold out in Thailand, but there's going to be a wait list. I have an email list. There's a lot of ways, but it's all in that link, mostly on Instagram, Rebecca Taylor Hair. Everything across the boards, Rebecca
Next
Taylor Hair.
question.
Yeah. I have been thinking about doing, like, I have a YouTube channel that just sits dormant. I have 46,000 followers and I haven't put shit on there in years. I feel like this is so much fun. Like I want to have different people on. I got to learn about this platform, and I feel like sticking it on my YouTube channel would be so much fun cuz like this is fun to me. So I think I might start doing some stuff with like a vlogging and this kind of shit.
I love it. This is going to be on YouTube.
Is it?
Yeah, at Dawn Bradley.
Well, I will share it because like this is the energy I'm here for all day, every day. I love Kiki in it with you. It is so much fun. Like, sure, we talked about some heavy stuff and sure we went deep and talking about trauma and all this stuff we talked about doesn't necessarily have to be heavy. Like we're talking
No.
about like we're moving through it and we're it was just a part of life. It doesn't have to be heavy. I feel very lifted up after this conversation.
Mhm. I feel completely weighed down. I'm just kidding.
Happy.
Like I just sucked the life out of you. No, it's always so life bringing to connect with you. And I wish we were hanging out in real life right now because I was talking on our live, like I'm so screened out. It's hard for me to show up digitally right now.
I get it. I know. There's a lot of ease that comes with being in someone's presence,
Mhm.
physically, and like just on an energetic level, it's different. But I'll take what I
Totally.
can get. And since I'm not in Canada and you're not in the States, that this is what we're gonna do until we see each other again.
Yeah. And we'll for sure.
Oh, I've always wanted to do that. Ew. Can't do it. Well,
um,
there's this thing I learned. I'm gonna send you a video. Okay, you know how when people go like this? I'm so like, boy, do you know. I can't do that. So I learned this new way where you put a straw down there and you're like, I'll send you a video. I'm
you
so
kind of have to have a sweaty pit.
you just like lick it and before you stick it.
Oh. On that note, thanks for showing up on the Anxious Creative Podcast. You can go find Rebecca on Instagram at Rebecca Taylor Hair and check her link in bio for all the ways you can connect with her. Rebecca, thank you so, so much for being here.
This was a treat. You're welcome. And thank you for having me, friend.